Hi, this is Carla Wills Brandon, coming to you from a windy, chilly Galveston Island. I know a lot of you right now are going through some snow. We'll be joining you next week as we slug through a blizzard to get up to my in-laws' house. I want to talk to you today about something that's, I think, going to be useful for you. The holidays are a time when families can come together and we can share with one another. We catch up with what's going on in each other's lives. We see how children grow. And it's a time for us to reminisce, to talk about things that are important in families. Anniversaries, gatherings, milestones, successes, and hardships. Some of us will be experiencing hardships this holiday season. Maybe we've lost somebody that we really care about, and we're feeling a bit blue, a bit down. And then in other families, there will be situations where maybe we've had an interesting experience during a passing. Maybe one of us had a dream right after the passing of our loved one coming to us and telling us that they were okay and that they would always be watching out for us. Maybe there's that instance where we were sitting around the bedside of a grandfather or a grandmother or an aunt or an uncle or a spouse who was getting ready to make a crossing to the afterlife, and they began talking about something like this. At the time, I didn't understand just what it was my grandfather was talking about. Neither did my mother or my aunt. Both were present. Everyone thought he, my grandfather, was just having a hallucination. As we were all there by his bedside, he turned and looked at us and said, "Well, why don't you serve some refreshments? Can't you see that my wife, 3 children, and mother are all here visiting me?" We didn't know what to make of this remark, but now I understand. All these individuals, all these family members of this grandfather, all of these individuals had crossed over. They had passed on. And what was happening is that he was setting up to make his journey too. And his loved ones had come to him to let him know that they would be escorting him to the afterlife, to the next dimension, to heaven, whatever you choose to call it. This is not an unusual account. Some individuals have described a party going on in their bedroom or in their hospital room, and they don't understand why their surviving loved ones don't see or aren't serving hors d'oeuvres or party favors or aren't getting the deceased friends and relatives on the other side a chair to sit in. This is not unusual. So what I want to share with you is this. Celebrate the holidays, enjoy family. But if there have been those instances where, for instance, in my family, where there were 5 of us who all had the experience, all of us in different locations, had the experience of knowing my mother had moved on to the next dimension, or those encounters where we wake up in the middle of the night and we know that a loved one is crossing right at that moment, and then we receive a phone call not long after that telling us that yes, indeed, this is true. And then maybe a few more of our relatives say that they too had that same experience and then received that phone call of validation. When we get together with our families, not only do we reminisce about the here and now, but we can discuss some of those unusual events. Because you know what? Oftentimes, people and families who have these encounters, they don't talk about them. And they think that they're the only one who saw their father sitting at the table after he had crossed over. There, sitting in the at the kitchen table, there was Dad. And maybe they even had a conversation with him. What they don't know is that, well, maybe other family members had the same experience. Or the instances where the clocks all stop in one home, but we don't talk about it, and we don't know that in our cousin's house, the clocks all stopped then too, at the moment of a crossing. My father-in-law, after he passed, what began happening was that the radio would turn on full blast by itself at about midnight. And I thought I was the only one who was hearing it. Well, it wasn't just me. It was my husband. It was also my husband. And then, of course, there was our neighbor next door who had a wicked sense of humor and died at the age of 105. He would turn on his home alarm system at about 2 in the morning. Now, his family had that disconnected, but guess what happened? It continued to go off, and we weren't the only neighbors who heard it. So when we get together with our family and our loved ones during the holidays or during any gathering, it's important to talk about these things, because when we talk about these things, we discover that we're not the only ones who may have had these encounters. So what we do during anniversaries, during birthdays, during Christmas, during New Year's, we create a sacred place. Because you know what? Just because our loved ones aren't here in skin with us, as my youngest son likes to say, that doesn't mean they're not here with us literally in spirit. And so what we need to do is we need to include them in the celebration, because you never know who's come to visit. So maybe you might want to set out a chair or put out their favorite dish, or just talking about them, talking about their lives, talking about what we appreciated about them, what they gave us, how they helped us on our journey. You know, I had some difficult times in my childhood, but I had a couple of wonderful relatives who laid down a foundation for me. And that's basically why I'm not insane today. Well, my kids would disagree with you, but you know what I'm saying. But because of them, because of what they did for me, I'm the way I am today. And it's not quite half bad. So do this. When you're sitting around the table and you're saying grace, or you're getting ready to carve up that turkey or that tofu turkey, take a moment to think about those loved ones in the afterlife that mean so much to you. And maybe everyone around the table can take a moment to share why certain individuals are important to them. In that way, you are creating that sacred space. And so you don't have to be like this gentleman who acknowledged the presence of his loved ones right before he crossed over. What you can do is you can get in the habit of always recognizing that they are close and near. So this is Carla Wills Brandon wishing you a happy Hanukkah, a very Merry Christmas, and a blessed New Year. Take care. And please feel free to contact me and share with me some of your experiences with your departed loved ones who are now residents in the next world to come. Many blessings.